Yes, I can hear you just fine. Whenever you're ready with your question, I'm here and I'll provide a long, detailed answer for you. That's a great place to start. So, the word please is a versatile term used in English to express politeness when making requests. Its core function is to soften a request, making it feel more like an invitation rather than a demand. Interestingly, it evolved from older phrases such as if it pleases you, which was a formal way of seeking someone's consent. Over centuries, it became a standard part of polite speech, both in written and spoken language. Because it signals respect and consideration, it's become one of the most widely used words to promote cooperation and kindness in everyday interaction. So, in short, please is a small word, but it carries a big role in fostering positive communication and mutual respect. That's a great follow up. The word please actually originates from the Middle English word plaisen, which in turn came from the Old French plaisir, meaning to please. And further back, it traces to the Latin word placere, which also meant to please or to be agreeable. Originally, it was a formal expression, often tied to courtly language, but as English developed, it became a simple, everyday word for polite requests. So, over time, what was once a formal phrase evolved into a universal marker of courtesy. That's a really interesting part of its history. In the past, please was used in very formal, almost ritualistic speech. Pleases you. It was often part of polite requests made in noble or court settings. Over time, though, it became more common in everyday language, and now it's a simple, universal word we use in all kinds of situations to keep things polite and respectful. That's a great question. Please is considered polite because it signals that you respect the other person's autonomy. Instead of issuing a command or a demand, please turns the interaction into a request, showing that you acknowledge their choice and goodwill. Historically, being polite was linked to status and social grace, so please became a linguistic tool to ensure interactions were cooperative rather than confrontational. In modern usage, it's a small word, but it plays a big role in keeping communication civil and respectful. That's a really insightful question. Saying please shows respect because it acknowledges that the other person has a choice and a voice in the interaction. Instead of treating them like an obstacle or just a means to an end, you're treating them as an equal. By adding please, you indicate that you value their willingness to help and that you're mindful of how your request might come across. In this way, it transforms a simple request into a mutual exchange based on courtesy and dignity. That's a really important part of early social learning. Parents teach kids to say please because it helps them understand how to interact politely and respectfully with others. By practicing please, children learn that their requests aren't just demands, they're invitations for cooperation. It also builds empathy because kids see that using polite language makes others feel valued. So it's not just about words, it's about helping kids build positive, kind relationships right from the start. That's a great thing to break down. When we say please, it adds a layer of humility and respect to what we're asking. And instead of just stating it more inviting, turning a simple request into a shared positive exchange. That's a really interesting point. While many languages have a word or phrase similar to please, it's not universal. Some cultures express politeness differently through tone, indirect phrasing, or other markers like body language. The idea of please as a softener is really rooted in English, so while you'll find similar politeness strategies around the world, not every language has an exact equivalent. That's a really rich topic. Over time, the word please evolved from a formal, almost ritualistic phrase into a common everyday courtesy. In the Middle Ages, phrases like if it pleases you or I pray you please were used in very formal contexts, often in courts or noble speech. As English spread and became more everyday, please shed its old formality and became a simple, versatile word. Today, it's one of the most widely recognized markers of politeness, used in everything from casual conversations to formal requests. That's a fantastic question. Please is so important because it sets a tone of mutual respect and kindness in daily interactions. When we use please, it reminds both us and the person we're speaking to that we value cooperation, not just getting what we want. In everyday conversation, it reduces the chance of misunderstandings, builds goodwill, and keeps communication cooperative. In short, बताना और मैं पूरा ध्यान से सुनूंगा. That's a really key point. When we say please, it softens the request, so the other person doesn't feel like they're being ordered around. Instead, it creates a cooperative tone. By showing that we value the other person's willingness, it reduces defensiveness and makes them feel respected. As a result, communication flows more smoothly, misunderstandings are less likely, and both sides feel heard and valued. Yes, absolutely. By using please, you make your intentions clearer, so the request is seen as a polite invitation rather than a harsh command. This reduces the chance of confusion because the listener knows you're being respectful and not just demanding something. As a result, it fosters clearer, more. That's a great question. In schools and workplaces, please is really common because it sets a tone of professionalism and respect. When people use please, it signals that they're not just giving orders, they're inviting cooperation. In these settings, that's a really fascinating shift. With technology, especially in texting and emails, please has become more frequent because it helps soften the tone in digital communication, where tone can be harder to read. At the same time, in casual digital chats, people sometimes shorten it to just please, which reflects a faster, more informal style. So technology both spreads its use, making it more common, and also changes how it's expressed depending on the platform. Yes, it is important. Even though texts and emails can feel informal, adding please still signals respect and politeness. In written form, tone is easy to misinterpret, so please acts as a signal that you're asking, not demanding. It keeps your messages professional and kind, especially in work or formal settings. So it really helps prevent misunderstandings and keeps communication clear and courteous. That's a really good point. The tone of voice can completely change how please is perceived. If you say it softly, warmly, it can feel genuinely polite and caring. But if your tone is abrupt or flat, it might come across as insincere or even sarcastic. So the way you say please really shapes whether the request feels kind and genuine or not. Absolutely. You can be polite in many ways beyond just using please. For example, you can soften your language by being appreciative, like saying, I would really appreciate it if you could help, or by using indirect phrasing, such as, would you mind letting me know? Tone. That's a really interesting thing about language. Please is considered a universal symbol of good manners because over time it emerged in many cultures as a simple way to show respect and humility. It signals that you're not just making a demand, but inviting a service with consideration. Because it's so simple and easy to adopt, it became a kind of linguistic shortcut for courtesy across many languages and cultures. So it's now recognized as a global marker of politeness. That's a great question. When you use please, it shows that you value the other person's willingness and effort. This creates a foundation of mutual respect, which is key to positive relationships. When people feel appreciated and not just used, they're more likely to. I think please will continue to be important because it's such a fundamental part of how we express respect and cooperation. As long as human interactions rely on trust and mutual goodwill, a simple word like please is a universal signal that we're treating each other with care. So even as communication moves more online or becomes more fast paced, that little word will keep its power to promote kindness and mutual understanding.